Well, hello. This is a natal chart reading for Strawberry Bunny, I think. I'm pretty sure that was your name. That might not have been your name. I don't know. I'm sure it'll pop in here in a moment. But I'm just gonna get started. And then also Strawberry Bunny. This will go on quite some time. I may not finish it right this moment. Regardless, I'll post these onto a privately linked YouTube video so that you can access this reading whenever you so choose. So if you need to pop out, because you'll be able to see it later. Okay. Holy critical degrees. You have so many critical degrees in your chart. It might be more than any I've ever seen, so good luck with that. Just kidding. That means different things depending on the type of sign that they are, and we'll get there when we get there. So I'm just going to go, usually I do sun, moon, rising first, but I'm just going to start with the rising, and we're just going to work our way through from the 1st to the 12th house. And I have notes here that I took on my syllabus. Okay. So your rising sign's Taurus, and it's at 9 degrees. So your rising sign is your presentation, and it varies from your sun sign, which is your identity, and then your moon sign is your emotional undercurrent. Your rising sign is your presentation. It's that which you put forth. It's the mask that you wear when you meet the world. So Strawberry Bunny's rising sign is Taurus. So the way that she presents herself, people's first impressions of her are that she is a down-to-earth person that can endure things, that can sustain. She might have a bit of a bullheadedness about her, perhaps, that she, once she gets going, she's hard to stop. She's not necessarily fast, but she is unending. Taurus is the bull. It's incredibly strong. It's not going to win a race, but it will move a mountain. It just might take 10 years. So that is kind of Strawberry Bunny's presentation, therefore, because it's her rising sign. Now we're seeing it's at 9 degrees. So Taurus is a fixed sign, which means that fixed signs are the signs that sustain and endure things, and that are a little bit stuck in their ways, perhaps. So on top of the steadfastness of Taurus, it is a fixed sign, meaning that it can be stubborn. So you may be very set in your types of ways. Once you kind of have made your mind up that you are going this direction, you gonna go that direction, and ain't nobody stopping you. Again, Taurus is not necessarily fast or fiery, but is unbending. And then the 9 degrees is a critical degree for fixed signs, which adds an extra level of fixedness. So you are perhaps the way that you present, maybe, and this might not necessarily be your identity, but the way that you present might be, for lack of a better word, rigid, but not that you yourself are a bitch, but that whatever you present is what it is, and it ain't changing, type thing. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so then moving into your first house, which is Taurus, we see Mercury here is the first planet that shows up. Mercury in Taurus means that you communicate in a way that is earthly, that's down to earth, that has a concern for that which is real and material of the earth, that which you can experience with your senses. We're finding out that your communication style is here in your first house of your identity, in Taurus, of the material world. So you probably have a practicality to the way that you speak. You might not necessarily be a person that is going to expound upon some philosophical, maybe spiritual kind of subject, when you're trying to get to the point of something, you probably get right to that point, and have a practicality about the way that you speak, because we're seeing that there's an earthiness, down to earthness, in the way that you communicate because of this Mercury placement. And also just the way that you exchange information is probably in a very earthly manner, in a way that is material, that has substance, that is real and not hypothetical, for instance. That your Mercury here is of the earth. And it's in your first house, which means that it's tied up very much so in your identity. Any planets in the first house are going to be extra prevalent in that person's personality. So you probably not only talk in a manner that is down to earth, but you probably like to talk in a manner that is down to earth. And the way that you communicate probably is informative of the way in which you think of yourself and of your identity, because we are seeing it's in this first house. Okay, now moving on to your second house, we find your sun, which is your identity as well. The first house is the house of self, but then the sun is one's identity. So wherever that's placed is another layer. And obviously all of this is part of your identity. But when we say identity, it's like your idea of yourself, versus the whole chart is you. The sun is your idea of yourself, okay? We're seeing it's in your second house, and it is in Gemini. Okay, great. So we're seeing, yep, you like to talk. And we are also seeing that you find value and you find worth in folks that are able to communicate in similar ways to you, most likely. So the sun here is in Gemini, the house of the sign that deals a lot with communication and exchanges of information and learning. Gemini is also very much informed by close friendships and like siblings. So you probably, the way that you identify is probably very much informed by close friendships that you have, or maybe like sibling level relationships. And then communication is just a huge factor for you already right off the bat. We're seeing that you have Mercury in your first house, and we have the sun in Gemini, which is all about talking. People give Geminis a bad rep sometimes for being maybe two-faced or something, which is not true. Everybody's two-faced, let's be real. But I do think it's funny because Gemini is all about exchanges of information. So perhaps sometimes Geminis just be choosing what they are exchanging with one person, and maybe it's a different thing that they exchange with another person. That's not necessarily bad. But I could see how that gets to being two-faced, perhaps. I'm not saying that you are by any means. And again, that's not, that's a crazy statement. But we're seeing the sun is here in the second house. So this Gemini sun that's informed by their friendships and their communication style is in the second house of their value system. So you value communication. Not only does it inform who you are, you actively assess other folks' value and worth, maybe not even other folks necessarily, but just things in general in the way that their information is communicated, is probably one of the first lenses that you take in things and assess, is this worthy of keeping in my life, for instance? Does it provide communication in the way that I like? And likely that is in a Taurian way because of your Mercury, which is down to earth. All right, so we next have the South Node and 19 degrees. Okay, no. South Node at 13 degrees in third house Cancer. Okay. So hold on to your fucking hats, because the nodes are the destiny points on a person's chart. They have karmic energy. They signify, so the South Node signifies things that you brought into this lifetime that you had down pat because you expert leveled them last time around in the last lifetime, or whatever last experience that this part of energy that's in you now had previously mastered this shit. And that's your south node, right? So then opposite the south node, we'll find the north node, and the north node will be what you didn't figure out last time that you need to figure out this time around. And that what you're being perhaps guided towards through your lifetime to achieve and to master now. So we're seeing here, one, that this south node is in the third house in Cancer, okay? It's at 13 degrees, which is a critical degree for cardinal signs. And specifically 13 degrees for cardinal signs can mean that it's like a point of change, like a turn of events type thing. So there might be some more activity surrounding these ideals than there would be otherwise if it was not at 13 degrees specifically. That this is like a change of events type thing. So we'll see maybe if we can once I actually get into the south node placement. But south node here in Cancer means that you are all about communication, girl. You have brought into this lifetime an ability to communicate in a manner that is empathetic and that can intuitively sense what other people need in order to heal them and to nurture them, that you instinctively have that skill. Yeah, for sure, of course, no problem. Yeah, I'm trying to grow my business, so I totally appreciate any shout out or whatever, or I'll drop my Cash App if I would totally appreciate a tip, because I'm a broke bitch. But I'm trying to like grow this business because I love to do this, and I very much like it, and I hope to provide healing to people and perspective and blah blah blah. I'll shut up. Anyways, south node here, so it's in the house of your the third house is the house of communication now. So already we're seeing that your first house has Mercury, the planet of communication. Your second house has Gemini of it, and is your sun, so Gemini's communication. And then the third house is the house of communication. So we're starting off strong with communication stuff, but we're seeing that the south node here is in Cancer, which is all about the intuition and empathy and nurturing abilities that you have in the manner in which you communicate. And now the south node might not necessarily be stuff that, like, obviously you're not born necessarily knowing how to fucking play tennis or whatever, but like might be a skill that you can easily adapt to, that you can easily learn, that you can easily comes to you naturally. So you might be like, oh, I'm not exactly sure if that's like a perfect like instinct of mine, but like it might be something that is that comes to you easily. And I have no idea your age or anything. Oh wait, you said 2010, I believe. So you're younger, so yeah, so perhaps that might be the case, but also who knows, you might have leaps and bounds of wisdom in you, and have already mastered that. So who knows? Let's see. Next we have Venus in Cancer. My Venus is in Cancer too. In your third house, wherever Venus is signifies what you value, what you hold to have beauty, what you love. And it's in your third house of communication. And it's in Cancer. So you find value in folks that have empathy. You find value in intuition. You find value in people that are nurturing, and all in a communicative way, because we're in this third house of communication. Okay, so in review, so far we have found out so much about the way that you communicate, and it is in a manner that is down to earth and material, meaning like real, not necessarily like philosophical, okay? We've also established that the way you communicate is informed by your friendships, and those friendships and the way you speak with them and communicate inform your identity. We've also established that you have brought in from maybe a past lifetime an ability to be empathetic and intuitive in the way that you communicate. And now we're establishing that you also, what you find value in others is whether they are empathetic, because of this Venus in Cancer in your third house in the way that people communicate. We next have your Imam Cheli So the Imam Cheli is the fourth house cusp. It's the first degree of the fourth house, so it's the very lowest point of the chart. It is therefore it's your foundations, it's your roots, it's your origins, it's your family. We have the Imam Cheli here at 22 degrees Cancer, which you actually have, just so you're aware. So Taurus is the second sign, and all of the houses are traditionally associated with a sign, right? So the sign before Taurus is Aries. So the first house is associated traditionally with Aries. The second is associated traditionally with Taurus, etc. The fact that your rising sign is Taurus and is so close to that first sign, there's going to be like a synchronicity that appears here with some of your houses. For instance, here we're seeing that your fourth house begins in Cancer. Well, Cancer is the fourth sign. So the ideals and attributes and values of Cancer are already intrinsically similar to the attributes and values of the fourth house. And so we're going to see this occur multiple times throughout your chart, that we will be like, oh, this is exactly where Cancer should be. So I would say that's a great thing to have, because you are kind of in sync with the world, I guess, and the universe. So that's neat, just so you know. Again, your house system starts with Taurus, so your first house is Taurus, versus traditionally the first house is associated with Aries, but the houses vary in sizes depending on the calculation method. So since they vary in sizes for this chart we're looking at, there's going to be some scenarios where they sync up to the same house and sign, if that makes any sense. And we find that here for your Imam Cheli, your foundations is in Cancer, the fourth house begins in Cancer. So that makes perfect sense for the fourth house. So we'll find out now that your foundation, your roots, is all informed by Cancerian values of being nurturing, of being empathetic. Cancer is the mother. Cancer is like the private life. Cancer is very much carries the past with them and lets it inform their intuition in the present. So those are all things that inform your foundational level. Is probably in a manner that is watery and feeling. You probably have an intuition that you are able to apply to your foundational security that you feel. You probably gain that sense of security, perhaps, or gain that sense of family, or gain that sense of establishing your roots through your intuition and through like trusting your empathetic feelings self, because Cancer is like the most feeling of any of the signs, like most emotional, they say, but I think it's not like emotive. I wouldn't say necessarily. Cancers aren't like the most always expressive. Cancers go about things from the side a little bit, because they're the crab. They don't charge right on, they go around the side and then they win. I'm a Cancer. Point being, they feel the biggest breadth of feelings. They can feel everything around them constantly. You can probably walk into a room of your family or those that are very close to you and know exactly how they're all feeling. Next we find, and then there aren't any planets in this fourth house, but that is the overlay for this fourth house of your foundations. Now, an absence of planets, first of all, is not an absence of planets, because there are a gazillion asteroids and shit in the sky. And this is just a list of the main planets and a couple of asteroids that are popularly considered. But undoubtedly, there are other asteroids that are in your fourth house that we're not considering here today. So when I say that your fourth house is empty, that's not reality. And also, a house being empty does not mean anything of itself. A house having 10 different planets does not mean anything of itself. There being more planets in a house or there being none just means that area of one's life is colored in different types of ways by the planet's energies, or is just colored by the house cusp. Here is Cancer. For the fourth house that we're not seeing any major planets in. But that does not mean that there's any lack of, or necessarily that there's an abundance of, if there are more planets. It's just the energy is influenced in different ways, if that makes sense. I'm gonna stop saying that phrase because I'm annoying myself. All right. Next we find in the fifth house, we find Mars in Leo at 27 degrees. Okay. All right. So moving to the fifth house now. The fifth house is basically it's creation. It's like the way that you creatively express yourself. It's the way that you experience pleasure and joy. We're finding Mars here in Leo. Wherever Mars is signifies an area in your life that you have an ability to take action towards. So Mars here in the fifth house means that you have an ability to initiate and take action regarding expressing yourself creatively and finding pleasure. That you can take a first step forward and make it happen. Now, Mars doesn't always think. In fact, Mars doesn't really think. Mars just acts. So there might be maybe a consciousness that could be helpful here for you, just to know that that is your configuration, that there might be a fieriness, a quickness, a drive, a passionate energy when it comes to expressing yourself creatively and finding pleasure and joy in the world, that is something that you can instinctively, innately take action towards. But maybe sometimes there could be thought that might want to be considered first, or maybe your intuition skills or what have you that could be weighed or whatever, in addition to whatever action you might feel instinctively should be taken. Then it's in Leo, so that means it is theatrical and demonstrative. So this Mars is not only fiery and hot and passionate, it likes to put on a show. So that might be something to be aware of, that you might have an ability to let others know in a manner that is showy and theatrical, perhaps when you're not being pleasured or finding joy, or perhaps if your creative expression maybe is questioned, there might be like oh, I'm hot now, and I'm gonna let you know because it's in Leo, and there's probably just an unafraidness to express that. So get it. Next we have in the sixth house. The sixth house is the house of service, like the service you provide to the world. It's also your health. The sixth house is also it's kind of like the in and outs parts of life, like the routine, maybe mundane areas of life. We find Saturn in Virgo. Yep, that's what I said. Saturn in Virgo in the sixth house. So wherever Saturn is in a chart can depict an area in one's life in which they may experience or may have experienced some sort of a limitation or a restriction, that maybe there was a blockage regarding wherever it is and however it is, depending on the sign in the house. So in Virgo in the sixth house, this could mean that you might experience some sort of a blockage or limitation regarding perhaps your health, or really perhaps your ability to, in a detail-oriented manner, analyze your routines and your health and your day-to-day life, that there may be some sort of a lack of structure that Saturn here is demanding you to build for yourself, to establish a strong built structure around your health and your routines of your daily life is what Saturn here means. Now, yes, wherever Saturn is perhaps an area that there's a blockage or a limitation, or that there's a structure that needs to be built. But the good news is that once that structure is built, it is an uphill battle. But once it's built, it's going to be strong as hell. So know that that is that's your Saturn, is for your daily life and routine and maybe health issues, that there really might need to be some conscious thought towards that area, perhaps, to establish a structure maybe that's healthy, that is good for you in your daily life and how you experience that part of your life. All right, next we have the 7th house has a Scorpio cusp, and we're not seeing any planets in the 7th house. The 7th house is, and again, that doesn't mean anything. And again, there are asteroids, I'm sure. Actually, I'd be interested to know where Juno is, and that's not on this list, because Juno's how you partner, and the 7th house is partnerships. With a Scorpio cusp, that means that you experience partnership intensely, and that you experience partnership in a manner that is dynamic, so changing, maybe volatile perhaps, but really transformative is the higher expression of that Scorpio energy, is to transform and to burn it down and be rebirthed into something more refined or what have you, is Scorpio energy. So, and that's overlaying upon your house of partnerships. So there may be close interpersonal partnerships between you and another person, whether that be romantic or otherwise, that will transform you in ways. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? What? Okay. That's your 7th house. Now moving to your 8th, we have Sagittarius. And we're not seeing any planets, again, of this list in your 8th house, but we are seeing that the 8th house cusp is Sagittarius. So that means that, so the 8th house is the house of death. It's not a big deal. Really, the 8th house is the house of transformation and rebirth. Traditionally is aligned with Scorpio, as we just talked about Scorpio for your 7th. But really the 8th house is like kind of just like uncomfy things. The 8th house is like sex, death, yes, other people's money. It's also like debts, taboo shit, like stuff that people don't want to talk about. So the fact that Sagittarius is here, overlaying upon this house of 8th house matters. And as a matter of fact, astrology itself is an 8th house matter, because occult studies in general are 8th house things, because they're things that are like taboo that people don't want to talk about. That is the energy of the 8th house. Cool shit, basically. The fact that that Sagittarius is the cusp here, overlaying its energy upon the whole house, means that the way in which you approach those matters of the 8th house is in a way that is seeking higher knowledge. So that's cool. So Sagittarius is the archer. He's casting his bow forth to something that is grander than himself, to seek higher knowledge. So that's the way that you approach the 8th house, is from a seeking vantage point to gain knowledge, maybe inspiration of those dark matters. So I think that's fucking cool. All right, so next we have Pluto in your 9th house. So traditionally Sagittarius is associated with the values of the 9th house, which is the house of higher knowledge, okay? We find here Pluto, okay? And is that 9 degrees or 4 degrees? 4 degrees. And then we find your North Node, which we didn't talk about. Usually I talk about the South Node and the North Node together, but I held it off because I knew I wanted to talk about this Pluto placement with it. So in your house of higher knowledge, we find Pluto in Capricorn, and we find the North Node in Capricorn as well. And the North Node's at a critical degree of 13. So wherever Pluto is signifies an area in which you will experience transformations over and over throughout the course of your life. That might be challenging, that might require being rebuilt, but will make you better, and you're meant to undergo them. So we're finding out that is in your house of higher knowledge, and the ninth house is also philosophy and religion and wisdom. So the fact that Pluto's here and is in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, so Capricorn's the builder. So really that means that there will be transformation that needs to be rebuilt in a manner that's practical regarding the way that you approach higher knowledge and wisdom. Will transform over and over through cycles of your life. And then we see that about 9 degrees later, which actually is a conjunction technically, depending on who you ask. A conjunction is when two planets are right on top of each other, and conjunctions generally are allowed up to sometimes a 10-degree orb. I'm going to say 9 degrees is pushing it, but an orb is just like the amount of degrees that are like that an aspect might be off of. So really a conjunction is right on top of the money, but if you have them 2 degrees apart, well then they have a 2-degree orb, and that's still considered a conjunction. Here is 9 degrees, so I'm not really going to consider it, unless that's a 9 instead of a 4. No, that's a 4. Okay, North Node in Capricorn in the 9th house. So again, your South Node was in Cancer in your 3rd house, saying that you have brought into this lifetime an ability to intuit communication and to intuit the way in which you are able to receive information and learn, that you are able to apply a level of empathy and feeling and intuition to the way that you learn, okay? Now the North Node here is demanding and guiding you towards building something structured and earthly, Capricorn, of the material world for yourself to attain higher knowledge. Not sure exactly what that might mean for you, but it seems that you're being called to maybe like go to school, or really like learn and study, because that is what the 9th house is. And it's saying to do so in a way that is practical and earthly. So it's not saying to like go sit on top of a mountain and meditate. It's saying to like open up books, you know what I'm saying? And like build a system or build a structure that allows you to do that. So I hope that means something to you. Next we have your midhaven is so whereas the Imam Cheli is the 4th house cusp of the foundation, the midhaven is the top point of the chart, and whereas the 4th house is the roots, the tree then grows up from the roots and to the 10th house cusp, which is the midhaven, which is the way that your energy relates with the public's energy. Therefore, it's like the house of your career. We're seeing that has a Capricorn cusp. So the way that your career will be informed by this North Node 9th house situation, I'm sure. And this career will be earthly and practical and structured and systematic, just like what your North Node is calling you to learn. So it seems as though you'll learn that, or you'll always learn, but you'll begin to learn, and then your career will take will take the next steps from there. Crazy, right? Learn something and then get a career. I know, how did I think of that? Okay, next we have, in the 11th house, we have your moon now at 25 degrees in Aquarius. Aquarius is associated with the 11th house already, so that's we've resynced here, it appears. Your moon is how you process emotions. So this means that you, the way that you process feelings is by being in your community. That you probably see reflections of your own feelings in those around you in a communal setting. And then seeing those reflections probably allows you to process your own feelings once you can see it in others in your community. You probably very much, yes, Aquarius is what's up. You probably very much can feel what your community feels. And that might not mean necessarily like your fucking subdivision or whatever, wherever you live. More so that means like the community that one might build for themselves, or that they might be like a part of an actual like organization maybe that allows a community to exist in some way. But you know, I'm not necessarily talking about like a church per se, but it very much could be a church. But more so, sorry, I just moved my leg because my ass is falling asleep. But more so, whatever system of human people that you have established in your life, your community, help you process your feelings, and you can feel their feelings. It is also conjunct your Black Moon Lilith. So your moon and your Black Moon are conjunct, so that's interesting. Black Moon Lilith is like the biblical figure that was Adam's first wife, but she didn't want to submit to him, so she said, I'm the fuck out of here, and left the Garden of Eden. And then God made Eve or whatever, and she submitted. Boo! Boo, burn her! She submitted to Adam or whatever, and now we got this fucking garbage that we live in. Anyways, don't get me started. So point being, Black Moon Lilith signifies like the bad bitch energy of Lilith. Signifies like an area that you will stand up and say something if this happens in front of you type shit, like a knee-jerk reaction type energy. And oftentimes the Lilith can signify an area that there might be some sort of a shame, because oftentimes when one has a knee-jerk reaction to something, well, it's because they might be maybe sensitive about that area, and therefore that's why they're standing up and saying something. So the fact that we have Black Moon Lilith here in your house of community might mean that there's maybe a sensitivity, or maybe there's an insecurity regarding your ability to be of community, or maybe there has been at some point, or otherwise there is an adeptness to stand up for your community. And we're seeing that it's conjunct your moon, so doing so helps you, or allows you to process your own feelings by being able to recognize the same feelings in your community that you want to stick up for. That process alone probably helps you process your feelings. All right, next we have Neptune, which is also conjunct. So that's interesting. So we have a triple conjunction here between the degrees of 25 and 28. Actually, we have a quadruple conjunction here, because then we have Chiron. Okay, so this is a little bit of a heavier area for you, perhaps. So we have the moon of your feelings tied up in community. We have that Black Moon Lilith, that there might be a shame element here regarding community. We have Neptune here. Wherever Neptune is, it kind of just dissolves things and makes things swampy and misty and confusing. Neptune is like the subconscious and like the vast interconnected deep, confusing spirituality that we might all have or whatever type shit. So Neptune makes things a little confusing. So there is the emotional processing here, and there is a shame element, perhaps. And then Neptune's making it be foggy and confusing. And then right after Neptune, we have Chiron. Now, Chiron is an asteroid. Chiron signifies, wherever Chiron is in a chart, may signify an area that one bears a wound that they carry throughout their life. Chiron's from the Greek epic Hercules. He was a centaur, as if that was real. He's a centaur or whatever. Just bear with me. In the story of Hercules, he becomes poisoned and dies. But because he became poisoned, he was able to save other people along the way. Or that, like, he told them not to drink the poison or whatever. So, yes, Chiron signifies a wound that one carries, but more poetically, it signifies an area in which they have a unique ability to heal others because they've been wounded in this manner, that they can see it in other people and therefore help heal them. So we then have Chiron right here at 0 degrees Pisces in your 11th house. 0 degrees is a critical degree, and 0 degrees means that it is the it is the sign's most raw, unbridled expression of their energy and attributes and values, because as a planet transits a sign from 0 to 29 degrees, it hones its skills. So at 0 degrees, it is the most rawest, purest form of that sign's energy. So Chiron here, in the purest form of Pisces, which is the subconscious, deep spirituality and deep artistry, signifies that there may be a wound that has been experienced regarding spirituality, regarding a deep level of creativity, regarding maybe intuition in general, that there may have been a wound that has been experienced that you now have a unique ability to heal others because of. So know that. The next thing we see is in the 12th, and we have Jupiter in Pisces, which it rules traditionally, and it's at 29 degrees. So this is beautiful, actually. So 29 degrees is a critical degree as well. 29 degrees means that you have a unique ability in this lifetime to master the attributes of Pisces. So yes, you have a wound at the beginning of Pisces, but by the end, you have Jupiter. Sorry. Sorry, I'm just like so stupid. By the end, you have Jupiter, which is abundance. Sorry, I'm so stupid. Okay, so Jupiter's abundance, so you have an ability to achieve mastery of intuition and mastery of spirituality in your lifetime, and in an abundant form, in a way that will bring you luck and wealth potentially, or not, not necessarily in money per se, but in abundance, because that's what Jupiter is. So that's fucking cool. We then have Uranus to finish things off. In the 12th house at 0 degrees, which is critical again, now in Aries. So in this 12th house, we have a mastery of Piscean values and attributes in the realm of your subconscious, But then we also have Aries begin in your subconscious. And we have Uranus that's chaos. In the most purest form of Aries, which is the ability to take action for oneself. And Uranus adds like a revolutionary, like an unafraidness to do things your own way type energy. Hi, bro. I'm good, thank you. I was just crying, so that rounds that off even more beautifully. You have a purely for yourself ability to take action in a way that is revolutionary regarding these subconscious matters that we perhaps saw that Chiron, that there's a wound for. Yes, I can do a reading for you. Too sensitive and like overly affectionate. This is my chart anyway. Clingy. Well, the South Node could be some of that. The Imam Cheli could be some of that, because that sounds like Cancer things. Cancers feel a lot. And Cancers want to feel security above all else. So that can translate in some scenarios to maybe being quote unquote clingy, because once you have found something that feels secure, you don't want to let go because it's scary out there. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with any way that anyone is, but you know, you can always change whatever you want about yourself. You know, you are strong as you are. You don't need anybody. So, I mean, I don't know. Be clingy if you want to be clingy. You know what I'm saying? Or if you don't so much love that, then maybe, you know, apply some effort to maybe change your perspective on it. Because you know, the only person you need is you. As far as he sees things. Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, I needed to smoke a cigarette. Or did you have any other questions? Or okay, so we have Taurus. Oh, I was going to talk about Venus, Cancer, so the Moon. Let me tell you about your rulership system really fast, because that might actually explain some of this, maybe. So your rising sign's Taurus, right? Whatever planet rules the rising sign is the chart ruler, okay? So Venus rules Taurus, so Venus is your chart ruler, okay? Your Venus was in Cancer. So we're finding out that your chart ruler is ruled by the Moon. So your value system, which is Venus, which is the ruler of your chart, the first step of the filtration system that you might have, is does this thing speak to the values I have, or how I value things regarding people that are empathetic? I need that first. And then it goes to the Moon in your 11th house. So it goes, does this person have empathy? I value that first. Then it goes, does this person, does their emotions vibe with my community? Does their community vibe with my emotions? And then that Moon's in Aquarius, which is ruled traditionally by Saturn. So then it goes to Saturn in Virgo. Then it goes to Saturn in Virgo in the 6th, which is demanding structure to be built in your routine daily life. But then it goes and says, does this person allow me to build structure in my daily life? That Saturn's in Virgo, so then it goes to Mercury, and then it says, does this person communicate in a manner that is down to earth and practical? And then the Mercury is in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, so then it's a closed loop and goes back to Venus. So that's like you have a little engine right there of 4 of the planets that are a closed loop that feed one another. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna take a break, Ski. I appreciate it. Yeah, you always be you too. Yes, user. hi, DM me. I am gonna take, thank you, likewise. Am I getting a job? I would need to look at your birth chart, and I would need to look at then comparing it to the transits. Well, bro, I'm not magic. I analyze charts like a nerd, like literal degrees of placements, and then form interpretations based off of that, like body of information. I don't like, I'm not like That's So Raven. So I would totally answer. I don't want to steer you in the wrong way, and I don't fucking know your life. If I look at your chart, I might be able to do something. Yeah, you can DM me. Yeah, DM me now, but I'm gonna take a little break. But yeah, DM me or whatever, and follow me. You go at least follow me. Okay, peace, y'all. What do I need to send? Okay, you can just send. If you go to you can just type in a birth chart calculator on Google, but I like AstroSeek. Astro-seek.com is a good one. Or if you just want to download an app real quick, I Love Time Passages is an app. Or just any fucking astrology app. You put your birth shit in, and then it will make it'll print you out a little birth chart, and then just screenshot that and then send it to me. You can DM me, or if you can't DM me for whatever reason, because sometimes TikTok's weird, just post it as a comment on one of my videos or whatever. Okay? Wait, I just gave you all those instructions, but actually I'm gonna have to see it compared to the transits, because it'll be two charts on top of one another. So just DM me your birthday, your time of birth, and where you were born. It can be like the closest like big city. I don't need to know like your address or nothing. I do need to know the time of birth though. That's imperative. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm gonna